What is up, my friends? You are very welcome along to Tuesday night's late night agenda. This is normally the time of the year where we do a transfer roundup special or a deadline day special, but as we know, Liverpool are doing no more business in this window. So I thought I would take the opportunity to get your opinion and, of course, give you my opinion on what I think is the most popular topic during this whole window with regard to debate in the Liverpool fan base is, have FSG taken a massive risk with what they have failed to do in this window? I'm going to give you my take on it, but of course I want to know yours as well. But I only want to know your take if you've actually watched the video, because the amount of times I see people commenting negatively about the title of a video or the thumbnail of a video and not actually watching it to see my perspective really bothers me, because I do it. We're all guilty of it. But for this topic, it's such a divisive one. I would actually appreciate if people just watch the video before commenting, because I think I'm going to be less negative than you probably expect. So look, you know the drill by now. Drop a like on the video, hit the subscribe button, all of the other stuff us YouTubers tell you to do all the time. And let's get into it. So look, have FSG and Liverpool taken a huge risk in not approaching this January transfer window and bringing in midfielders? I guess the short answer to it is yes. But if you look at it from, I guess, a wider scope, I can understand the hesitancy around some potential acquisitions. For example, I think Moses Caicedo is being valued way too highly at this moment in time. 70 million quid offers being turned down from Arsenal. So I'm not surprised to see Liverpool refusing to get drawn into that. And again, kicking the can down the road to the summer, and we'll get to that part in a different section. But for the first time in a while, I want to look at this and probably give you an opinion as to why I think some of the decisions are understandable and some of them are absolutely ridiculous. So with Caicedo, I understand why Liverpool or Klopp or FSG or whoever would look at that and not see value. We can talk about the player. Is he going to help us? Would he help us? Would he be an improvement? Yes. But ultimately, we can't just go around and spunk money willy-nilly. There has to be value in there. There just has to be, or it doesn't make sense for the model that we have. So I understand the Caicedo thing. I understand that Liverpool wouldn't want to necessarily pay the whole buyout clause of Enzo Fernandez deal. And it looks like there's going to be one of those deals where Chelsea actually borrow the money from somebody else and then repay them in installments over time to facilitate that money being available to go in and pay the full release clause for Enzo Fernandez. I can't remember what the term is, but Liverpool did something similar in selling off some of the debt we owed for the Felipe Coutinho thing. We sold that off before to access money. This is kind of the opposite of that. Chelsea are looking to stagger the payments so they don't have to pay it all up front, and another company will come in, facilitate that loan, pay the release clause, and then Chelsea will pay them. Complicated stuff, but ultimately, again, it was a way that Todd Bowley found to get around the FFP regulations or any potential trouble that might be coming Chelsea's way with regards to cash flow. So I understand that part of how FSG and Liverpool have looked at the market. Where I think the huge gamble comes in is the obvious one. If we don't get Champions League football, how does that impact our summer spending? If it's down to the case that FSG have to bring on a partner and sell up, that in itself is a bit of a gamble. If they don't get that deal over the line, or if they don't get a valuation that they feel happy with, does that mean that the summer transfer window is going to be another disappointment? We can't afford one. We really just can't afford not to go out there and strengthen. So as annoyed as I am, and believe me, I am very, very annoyed that we haven't brought in a midfielder in this window, I can understand it to a very, 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 very small level if the plans are concrete and in place and ready to go for the summer, and they aren't contingent on whether we get Champions League football or not. Because what I think none of us, whether you're an FSG in or an FSG out person, would be willing to put up with is FSG not investing in this window and then using it as an excuse as to why we haven't got money in the summer. You can't have it both ways. You can't have your cake and eat it and still think that we're going to be gullible enough to back you. That's my take on it. I don't agree with what we're doing, but I also don't believe that if we don't get Champions League football, they'll pony up the dough. I think they'll find a way to wiggle out of it. And that's where I have no belief in FSG. And, you know, the proof of the pudding is in the eating, as they say. So I think it's a calculated risk. Can we as fans write off an entire season? No, of course not. Every year we want Liverpool to do well. Can an owner potentially do it? I guess so, because to them, their assets still growing in value. As I said to you in a recent video, in the last 2 years, FSG have seen the value of Liverpool Football Club rise by over £500 million, and they haven't even had to invest that much in it. In fact, there's some stats doing the round today that show Liverpool are, I think, second lowest spender since 2019 in the Premier League, with 270 odd million compared to others up at the top end of it who are 700-800 million. As you know, Todd Bowley at Chelsea, if this Enzo deal gets over the line, he will have spent 600 plus million quid in 2 windows to reinforce that Chelsea squad. So there's various different ways to look at this. And I think we Liverpool fans would be, I don't want to say more understanding, because not being competitive for a whole season or not be willing to really fight for Champions League in a proper way. We can talk about the fact that players will fight, the players that are at the club. Klopp will do his best to get them galvanised and ready to go. Nobody's doubting that. But you can't then use that as an excuse for the summer. In my opinion, like, if FSG came out and said, look, no matter what happens, we guarantee that Jurgen Klopp's going to have money to spend in the summer window, and that isn't contingent on Liverpool getting Champions League football or not, I think we'd all breathe a little bit easier, although it would be a huge disappointment to not be in the Champions League next season, because none of us want to be watching Thursday night football. Quite a few Liverpool fans I've spoken with would rather have no football in Europe whatsoever than Europa League or European Conference League. Again, I see the plus and negatives around that, but I can't help but get away from the fact that whatever way I look at this, I do feel like it is a completely unnecessary risk to not go in and bring somebody in this window. And the more I think about it, and the more I really just try to look at it through cold eyes and not be emotionally invested in it, which is, you know, happens to me a lot of the time because I love the football club. It's a big part of my life. Same with you guys. But if I look at it right now, I can't figure out the reasoning of them not freeing up the cash to bring in a midfielder. So unless what we spoke about before is true, that money will only be there in the summer if they sell off part of the club, because I can't think of any other reason as to why they wouldn't give money to do it now. If you have it in the summer, you can access it now. So for me, I think they're banking on selling part of the club, and I think that that's where this money is going to be reinvested back in. And look, hopefully that happens, and hopefully Jurgen Klopp gets Bellingham, and hopefully he can bring in Matthias Nunes or whoever else Klopp wants to bring in. And I'm sure that those deals are being worked on. We've heard from Fabrizio Romano and others, who, as well as myself of course, who have told you guys that, you know, there is contact with Liverpool and Bellingham's camp. You know, I think Fabrizio went as far as to say Klopp's almost calling daily for updates on it. So in the grand scheme of things, if we miss 1 year in Champions League, but the money will be there in the summer, I guess it's not the end of the world. But it is a big leap of faith to ask Liverpool fans who have seen the can being kicked down the road over and over and over again with regards to actually going out and having that big window. It's a big leap of faith to ask us to believe in John W. Henry and FSG when they've given us no indication during the time of the club that that is ever going to be the case. So I hope we get an update on the ownership situation. I hope we get an update on how they're looking to bring in new investment, who that might be. I hope that becomes clear over the coming weeks, because we really do need some vision right now. Because even if you look at the average age of Liverpool right now in the Premier League, I think from the stats I looked at last night, we are, I think, the third or fourth highest average starting 11 age in the Premier League, which if you go back a few years ago, we were right at the other end of the table. Off memory, I think Arsenal were up the top with regards to one of the youngest Premier League squads. So there's no doubt, whichever way you look at the data, whichever way you look at the squad, midfield needs investing in, it needs refreshing, the age bracket needs to drop down. But I just don't have any faith in FSG that they'll do it in the summer. I really do believe that ultimately they've taken a huge risk here on their own legacy, on the future of our football club, on us being competitive, and they've basically written off a season. That's how I view it. I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section. And again, I want to thank you for your support of the channel. I know it gets a bit up and down at times. I know I'm up 1 minute, I'm all positive, the next minute I'm all negative, but that's me. You know, I can't turn the emotions on and off. It's what drives me. It's what drives this channel. And I think it's probably what's got you guys watching over the years as well. Is like I wear my heart on my sleeve. I say it as I see it, as does Paddy and everybody else involved with the channel. So we hope you continue to enjoy the content here. I'm sorry it hasn't been the transfer window we'd all hoped for, but I guess we did bring in Cody Gakpo, and the injury today to Ibrahima Konate, which rules him out for a few weeks, has meant that Nat Phillips will not be leaving the club before the transfer deadline closes. There was talk of him going to Galatasaray, but we need all hands to the pump right now because Van Dijk's out, Canade's out. We're basically left now with Gomez, Matip and Phillips and Reece Williams, who's been brought back in on loan. I mean, stop me if you've heard this one. You know what I mean? We've been here before, but look, let's wait and see what happens. There's a long way to go. We're the midpoint of the season, 19 Premier League games played, and we need to go and we need to take a lot of points over the next few. So over to you guys. Let me know what you come back with. And again, thank you so much for your support. I look forward to hopefully many more years watching with you here and talking to you here on Anfield Agenda. Thank you. Bye-bye.